Welcome back to Super Sentai Review episode 419. We are here reviewing the 20th anniversary movie for Dekaranger. Yep. Which is called Dekaranger 20th Fireball Booster. Which, even O-Ranger Adventure Heaven, that movie, Dekaranger, that movie was my most recent one. This is more recent than that one. Like, if you're really curious, like, how recent is this movie for Dekaranger? I know it was like last year it came out. Ooh. Excuse me. Well, let's see if we can find it here. I'm trying to look right now here. And by the way, this is like the last movie of theirs that's been released. Now, it was only released in Japan theatrically back in June. So this movie is only 6 months old. And it was released on Blu-ray in Japan just 2 months ago. So yeah, this one's fairly recent. We do have a debut here of like one new character here, but we'll get started with that. So, we start off with Umiko and Shan-chan just having dinner, and of course mentioning on the phone, oh yeah, the fact that it's been 20 years since they first assembled. Now, I think they still keep it here. These two are still married. I think they have one point they hug, but it's not really brought up here at all. Also in the case of Jasmine, like, the whole thing of her being married, it's not mentioned here at all. It was mentioned in this previous special that she's married, has a child. Here, it's just not mentioned. Did the writer forget the fact that she's married? Because clearly this is... Now, yeah, it's been 20 years since the end of Dekaranger, yes. But I would think they would still acknowledge the previous appearances, but here, they're not even mentioned at all. I don't think the movie's trying to ignore their previous appearance. By the way, the previous appearance was actually in the Dekaranger meets Tokusou from Dekaranger special. And before that, it was their team up with Space Sheriff Gavin. So, and while they're on a date, and then an explosion happens, and they come across basically some remains, and there's this, like, supposedly some alien child found with this, like, old mysterious woman who apparently cannot speak Japanese. She speaks, well, they assume she's from the planet Kema, but actually later on she's from a different planet. So, pretty much basically, like, so the explosion happening, of course, they come across a suspicious person, this woman, and then, of course, Dekaranger show up, and then we have the debuting Premier Deca Red, Premier Deca Red, this heavily armored Deca Red, in this very movie. Yeah. And of course, they assume this is Bond, but nope. This actually is a completely new character named Ruri Iragawa. That's the name of the character, which He's actually after the Sherlock, the guy who's the Japanese version of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Rampo Elga. Mm-hmm. And by the way, he is only 26. He's a singer. And aside from being in this very movie here, like, this was technically the only tokusatsu movie he ever was involved with. So, like I said, big bulky suit. And just like a suit to our version of, like, it was assumed that basically the license he has actually was Bond's. And Bond, the reason why he brought him in was because, he just reached the age of 40, so he's training a replacement. Yes, Bond is 40 with the 28th verse movie. Yeah, 20 years old. I think they mentioned when the series first started he was 20. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it said he was 20. And here he is in this movie. Where he says now he's 40 years old. Now, how long had it been since the events of the Gavin versus Dekaranger movie? I think it only been like just a few years. So it's been like 7 years. So I'm assuming that it only been, he was probably like 33. So he's like, he thinks he's getting old. So basically, Hoji basically points out like he just turned 40. So Hoji's like, so? Hoji, oh my gosh, like if you didn't watch the previous movies, you probably knows the fact his actor aged. Yeah, he looks older here. And he's only 42. It's like here, he just looks so much older than he did in the previous series. And he's practically the only person of the entire cast who looks like he aged. You probably would think, basically, like, did Sean Chun, did his actor age? His actor is only 40, but at least he actually looks the same. Umiko looks the same. Everybody pretty much looks the same, except for maybe Tatsu. Yeah, he actually does look a little different. Yeah, he does look like in a span of like 9 years. He actually does look like he actually did age a little bit. He still has the same coat he had from the 10th anniversary movie, because I think he's still like deputy chief now. Yes. Yeah, as for why in the world he still has this is kind of weird for Dekarangers, where Hoji, Jasmine, Umiko, and Shanshen all have the same outfits from the series. Their outfits never change. But yet, Bond's does. Now, Bond's, his red outfit he wears in this movie, that actually did not make his debut in this movie or even the team movie. That actually made its debut in an episode of Kyuranger. Yeah, that's where that outfit first showed up. It's this all red outfit. So it's like all investigating these. There's also an explosion happens here, and by the way, Bonner knows why he's on Earth. Now he's still technically the leader of Fire Squad. Those who don't know what the heck is Fire Squad. Fire Squad was established toward the end of Dekaranger. Excuse me. It was this special mission that the guy who used to be in charge of it basically was putting together. Basically, Fire Squad is pretty much basically like all of the Dekarangers of the entire universe working together as a big humongous team. And they get new equipment here. Bond basically is requested to transfer there. And this happens toward the end of the series. But luckily it doesn't go just yet. And for some reason, when they brought him back for the TIMP movie, they decided to keep him in the same outfit from the series, despite the fact he's part of Fire Squad. And later on, he does finally change his outfit. Like, does he change his outfit when he shows up in the 10th anniversary movie? Yes, he does. He does actually change his outfit. Kind of. And then, and if you notice, basically watching the series now, it takes him a while for finally change up his outfit. Yeah, it takes a while. Why the heck it took a while for him to change his outfit is never really explained in the series. I don't really know. It just seems like okay, he started Fire Squad, but he just couldn't exactly just wear a different shirt. Also, I should put this out though, about Dekarangers. For some reason, they have forgotten swap mode. Again, well, here's the thing. They did use it in the Gavin vs. Dekarangers movie. Here it's not even used. It's like post-series, I think that the writers forget the fact they have this. Like, it wasn't used in Magic Ranger versus Dekaranger. No, it actually was used there. Yeah, it was used there, but you would think, was he standard anniversary? Well, Neo Red, Neo Silver, Neo Yellow did, yes. Yeah, so, and also this weird movie where Sean Chen, I think he does his, also apparently the narrator basically doesn't like the fact that, that Bond is basically stealing his job, so apparently that Road does not like the fact, Jasmine is an Esper. I'm like, this team is so well known, apparently they forget the fact she's an Esper, at least the narrator doesn't forget that. So, and we also see Sean Chun doing his headstand, something he's practically done in Dekaranger. He did pretty much every single episode of the whole series. And he did it pretty much all the movies. Every time he showed up, basically he used this particular thing he does. So then of course basically him and Tatsu decided to go to Ketchup Province. He's like, "Hey boss, I'm gonna take Ketchup Province." They take him like, "Okay, you know somebody in that province?" Like, "Yeah." Well, come on. Yeah, from what I've read, there's a reason why they actually went to this particular town. And here's the reason why. The actor lives there. Yeah. And he actually worked with the locals basically to get know for this movie. And here's something also interesting though. The actor who plays Deckard Wright, Tomoso Yoshida, and this is quite interesting. This actually was his first acting role he did since retiring back in 2018. And this is interesting, though. The fact that the place where Umiko and Chandra are eating at is a bento shop owned by Umiko's actress. I'm like, wow, what a way to save money. But yeah, I could definitely buy that. Yeah, and apparently, get this. Also, the actors who played Jack and Bridge watched this movie and thought, maybe we could do a review movie. As a matter of fact, also, I've heard that Allison, the one who played Umiko's counterpart in SPD, Yeah, she pointed out this year is like 20 years since SPD. It's like, why not do a 20-year reunion? Like, even she wants that too, which I heard that on Power Rangers Playback. So, we have Hoji and Jasmine go to the planet where the villain came from. Well, his family. And there was this cat lady there. It's like, oh, you can't see the daughter. Eventually, it's revealed they did break in, and turns out that the cat lady was actually under orders from the real villain in the movie, who is a guy called Rotman. Oh, excuse me, Rotman, who was this Dawn's right-hand man. And we'll discover basically a little bit later what's going on here. So at one point we have Umiko go into a bath because, well, you gotta have her take a bath. She loves baths. And my guess is that this scene was probably the actress's idea, due to the fact that every time this woman appears in anything related to this franchise, she's always bathing. And I would have not been surprised the fact that when Umiko basically, like, when she's with the Octopus Dekaranger, I wonder if that's when the Octopus Dekaranger actually fell for her, and of course they got married years later. Yeah, if you're curious though, how long has the actress who plays Umiko been married to the actor who plays Dekaranger? Mika's married to him since 2018, basically when he retired. And he's only like a year older than she is. Yeah, so at the time when they got married, she was 36, and he was like 37. Which got praising for that. Yeah. So, after they follow him, of course, this little kid basically followed him too. And yeah. And then, of course, basically, like, after all this investigating stuff and running around, and eventually it's discovered that she's actually from another planet. I think it's like Yemenda, I think it is, where the Space Alliance, that is apparently what the Galactic Patrol works for. Okay. And yeah, where they work for. And apparently they just added them in. So that's when Ura's like, yeah, let's basically run into the translate what the heck she's saying, because throughout this movie nobody has any idea what she's saying. And of course they discover her daughter who's been held captive. Oh yeah, it turns out there was actually a leak where how did the fire squad find her husband? Simple. She leaked it herself because he was beating her. Oh yeah. So he had everything coming to him for being an abusive husband. Oh yeah, it turns out the little kid is actually the right-hand man. And of course they think about outside. And then he summons the grunges from the main series. I'm like, okay, let's bring in these guys. Because of course basically he would have these things. Yes, believe it or not, they actually brought the grunts from the main series of Dekaranger. Yes. The one Age Abra, who he, the little robots. Yeah, they brought him back here. The mechanoids? Yeah, I was kind of surprised to see these guys. Because I did not know these guys were even featured in this movie. But yet they're here. Somehow. Yeah, basically the Bastroids and the androids are here. The androids are not exactly like here per se. Yeah. And then of course Bond basically takes, of course, the church, and this whole thing of like, okay, so these various explosions go to one point, apparently becomes this plant monster. So then, of course, they bring in the main mech, which I'm like, okay, What about the SWAT mech? So they have by the way, Swan's in the movie, and of course Bond does say hi to her, which I do appreciate that. And that's the only interaction they have the entire movie. I'm like, really? Two characters we interacted a lot throughout the main series, and here it's like, oh hi Swan son. It's like, oh hi Bond. And say hi. Oh, by the way, there's no mention of the fact of the whole thing with Swan and Doggy being a couple. That was something that was brought up in the 10th and first movie. Here it's just not here. I'm like, what? Why would you not have them here? Why would you not have it's quite weird when it comes to that. So they feed the plant by using a virus on it. Okay. And eventually Bond he just snatches the morpher for Dekaranger. He just morphs and beats it, and it's kind of implied they stand there. I also have this little phrase where apparently like, oh, greenbreads are basically brought to Earth and then taken away quickly as soon as their time is up. And there's a reason why. They hinted this in the crossover with Dekaranger. So it's almost like basically the reason why they don't get any new recruits is because, well, they don't stay very long. It's almost like the Earth branch is more like a training ground for new recruits. It's like, okay, you want to send recruits out, get more experience? Work with Dekarangers from Earth. Probably because they basically saved the Earth from an actual, like, take out a major criminal organization. Presumably, yes. And eventually Rotman's defeated after being charged. The first time they tried to use it, it was blocked. Second time they do it, and they do remember that, oh yeah, they had the judge thing, which I am so happy they actually kept this in here, because it was featured in the last, like, it's a standard thing. So, by the way, the whole thing with the virus, and why they went to Guard Province in stories, because Shantan wanted to buy this stuff and gave it to this green woman who's hopefully can shoot water. And he also mentioned, oh yeah, the fact that he uses, I think, a slice of car, which that is actually a reference to a one-shot alienizer from the main series, which I was kind of surprised the fact they referenced that. Well, also because Sean Chen basically was kind of loosely connected to the person who actually murdered his sister because they want to get off their terrorizing ways. And apparently the scientist can't leave the Pentagon she works for because she needs nutrients. So, thanks to her help, that's how they feed the plant creature. Like, okay, interesting. And then they beat it, and then eventually Rui just off the place. There's a little bit of Fire Squad here. It's almost like Fire Squad's an afterthought in this movie, which I'm like, really? Big thing established running this series. It was featured a lot in the air stuff. Was featured Gokaiger for some reason, but was featured here. But yeah, it's a good movie. I do like the story. And I do appreciate the fact they kept all the famous quirks related to the series. Like Bond calling Hoji partner, Umiko bath time, Sean Chun doing his headstand, Taka doing his old nonsense catchphrase, Hoji doing his ridiculous thing, Jasmine her Esper stuff. I'm glad to keep all the famous stuff that are associated with Dekaranger, what people like about Dekaranger. That's all here. Any faults in the movie per se? Well, one fault I had in the movie is that the new character is kind of wasted. He's not killed. He just basically is there to witness this stuff. And Bond decides, yeah, I'm not going to retire. I'm going to keep going until I'm 60. I'm like, okay. So then what was the point of basically training a replacement for yourself if you're not going to retire? Which does beg the question of, like, is he still trying to Fire Squad? I don't know. Is he coming back to Earth? I don't know. It is quite baffling exactly what's going to go on here, per se, with this one. But I thought the villain was kind of weak per se. At least in the case of the villain in the last movie, at least had a connection to the villain from the previous series. This one felt like basically a Bond movie. A movie for Bond, basically a development for him. Because he felt as though like he had his own development. Which it's almost like kind of in a way he's kind of the only fault I have with him in the movie, he felt like he had a bit of a character drop from his last appearance. Because he actually more developed. Here it feels like it was a minor step back here. Like, and it's because he just turned 40. Yeah. And you can't think of an age story. Nope. I kind of wish they would have had more continuity nods of the other ones they had. But it's still a good movie overall, but we're not done with Dekaranger. Well, in the case of movies, this is technically the last one they released for Dekaranger. It is. Movies-wise, we're done. There is actually a special coming up. I'm going to be watching as soon as I finish watching Dekaranger. I will be watching a special. Yes. Which came out just 2 months ago. I think it's been subbed. Yes, so it should be interesting to watch this one. Yeah, so that's going to be pretty much it for particular review. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications, and do not hit the like button. Well, I will see you all tomorrow for... Well, I am presumably going to finish up the remaining episodes for... I'm going to do before I'm on break for Dekaranger along with my remaining anime. Dr. Stone, I did watch Dr. Stone, but I'll review it tomorrow, okay? Next video. Bye.